Are we live?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna look it up on my own YouTube channel
Hang
and
on,
see whether or not we are.
I'm going to Kennedy Tube.
What the?
I'm refreshing. ATHENA Book 2 launch stream live. I'm seeing it.
Will you send me that link really quick? That way I can put it up on the.
I will send you it privately.
There it is. And then what am I doing? I'm doing. So, save draft. And then I'm gonna say, hey, look at this. Me and my buddy Mike are streaming.
You know what? I'm gonna do a little Discord message.
Me and my buddy Mike, we're streaming right now. Look at all of these. There's too many buttons to press, man.
Oh shit! I truly forgot that we were live again. That's a mere second. I'm gonna have to get myself checked for early onset dementia.
Yeah, I think
can you get dementia in your 30s?
You can. It's got to be hereditary, but yes, you absolutely can. All right. One more thing. I just got to make sure that I have the right. You know what? I've got to go into Instagram and tell people that we're live. There's too many buttons. It's too many buttons.
Far too many buttons. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Pardon me as I clumsily update all of my social media that this stream is live. And then we are going to be able to get to the business of launching this campaign. Hopefully all the buttons work because we tried our very best to not be dumb. And that tells you that we have about 3 minutes until this campaign goes live, eh?
Oh, yeah, that's right. The countdown. Do we have a countdown?
Yeah.
I should have it. You want me to be the countdown clock?
Nah, don't be the countdown clock. That's kind of silly. We're just going to draw. I think what we're going to do is after I hit this button to have the campaign go live at 10, we're just going to relax and draw. Because I remember the last time that I did this, what feels like months and months ago, but wasn't really all that long ago, was that I was on the very kind, very generous Michael Bancroft stream. And he was such a high level of energy, and I can talk about that for about 2 minutes, and then I'll pick up as soon as I hit the live button. But he was such a high level of energy, that guy, that by the time it was only an hour-long stream, right? And it was evening my time, daytime his time, because he's on the other side of the ocean. But he was such a high energy that I was exhausted on his behalf. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the moment we hit the end stream, or the moment I exited the chat or whatever, I was exhausted, and I can't imagine how Mike can do that. Stream in and stream out. All right, we're gonna get ready because here's the button.
That has to be natural, right? A guy like that.
I think, that's a good question. I couldn't honestly tell you.
You know, you shaved since the last time I saw you.
Wait a minute.
You were rocking the you were rocking the the X2 Striker. What is that actor's name? That amazing English actor.
Okay, listen. I'm gonna hit this live button a minute ahead of time.
Oh, okay. All right.
And let's see how this goes. Okay, here we go. Launch this campaign. There we go.
All right.
And now we're gonna hit this live. We're gonna hit this update button.
It's up
on the old campaign. Goes that update. And now we're gonna hit this update on my website, and that's gonna publish.
Wow. All right, we're really doing it.
Yeah, we're just gonna sit here now, and then we are going to take that very same link that you gave me, which I'm really hoping that that's the right link.
Oh no, it is live right now. ATHENA 2 of 6.
Oh yeah, you clicked on. What did you click on?
I clicked on the link that we've been clicking on. I just hit refresh. And
right on. There's got to be a shorter version of that link. There we go.
Oh, it automatically when you hit that link, it automatically brings you to this. But both links will take you to the same place.
Yeah.
But that's where it ends up. But the first link still works 100%.
Social media. One more social media bit, and then we can chit chat because it's 11:01 and.
Look at this chat. Hello, chat. Let me
I'll be
engage.
right with you, chat. Forgive me.
While he does that, I will talk directly to you. Hello, Jean-Luc. Hello, Rockwood. Hello, Padrino. Hey, look who it is.
Who is it?
Everybody's favorite colorist. It's GP.
I dig it. Thank you so much for being here. I know that wait a second. He's not too far away as far as time zones are concerned.
Where is he? He's in
the Brazil.
Oh. Wow. Is he in one of the major cities like Rio or Sao Paulo?
While we're at it, let's ask him for his address.
Yeah, what's your zip code?
So we can accidentally dox you. All right. We are absolutely live. Thank you, everybody. All right, I'm going to get the chat now. I'm going to get the chat.
Panda.
Here we are. Jean-Luc, hello. Stephen Rockwood, good morning. Amanda, thank you so much for being here. CNY, how do you pronounce that? I'm just going to CNY. Hello, how are you? CJ, good morning. El Padrino, good morning. Giuliano, hello. We were just talking about you. Jason in Panda Mercenary, good morning. Dustin Rogers, good morning. Just Tahar, good morning to you. Strike Boy 99, good morning in capital letters. All right, we're going to draw. By the way, if you don't know my co-host, this is one of my very good best friends. His name is Michael DiNicola. I think he's eating a late breakfast or an early snack. We're going to stay with you for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on how the conversation takes us. And I'm going to continue to draw these images because I have, don't tell anybody, but I have trading cards to get done for people, or trading cards to be done for this campaign. We're just gonna freaking give them away, buddy.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
I got mine right here.
That's the what do you call it? That's the 4x6 original sketch. We're talking about packs of trading cards, Mike. That we're gonna give away on this campaign as a thank you very much for everybody to coming back.
Like real? Yeah. You're talking about like Pokemon cards, but for ATHENA?
Well, yes, but for this IP, not that kooky one that you're super into.
So
all right.
Nope, no Pikachu.
No, because that's those people are very litigious, and we don't want to use any of that stuff.
Well, perfect, because screw those guys. I want a Grizzle trading card. No,
exactly.
I want a...
CJ says that they are the third backer. Thank you so much.
Oh, whoa.
We really appreciate it. There is a tradition in Michael Bancroft's stream, and it's not necessarily something that we should carry over, but we can. What's this? Again, it's his high level of energy. Let me allow me to talk about Mike Bancroft for a while. Just for a little bit, because the guy is, first of all, incredibly gifted as an artist, right? And as a storyteller. Yes. He has a book called Lucent, and I think he's working on book 2 right now. But beyond that, he's also very kind and generous with his time. He goes out of his way to help people launch their books and make people aware of their projects on his stream. I think it's consistently on Tuesday. Anyway, forgive me if I'm wrong. But anyway, on his stream, they've come into, he's formed himself a really, I think, a pretty robust community. And what's more important, they're ultra supportive of each other, including the guests that he brings on. And as he brings them on, there's this tradition that people who back are encouraged to say what their backer number is. Because, Indiegogo sends that out to you. Hey, your backer number 455, your backer number 20, your backer number whatever. And it really does create a level of momentum. And I was witness to it when I launched book 1 on his stream. And I was like, holy cow, these guys are so dang enthusiastic about this entire endeavor, and they are so proud to have been able to back the creators, So that was nice. Now, it's not to say that we have to do that here. So I think that's where that little note from CJ comes from, is from that sort of, from the culture community that Mike has put together on his stream. I'm just here because I want to thank each and every single one of you retroactively for Book 1. For those who supported Book 1 and are now trying to find your way to support Book 2, I want to say thank you so much. Now, I can't deliver on the... I can't even begin to think of how to deliver on the same level of energy that Bancroft did. So we're going to do this version of energy where me and Mike are just going to draw through this stream. And whomever it is that comes in and say, hey, I backed the book, I'm going to thank you personally. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you generally by drawing these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe as many as 6 trading cards that I'm going to produce for this campaign and distribute for free. So 5 times however many people backed it.
Wow.
So thank you so much to everybody who are backing it. Now, these trading cards are not advertised on the campaign itself. And it's only because I came up with a cockamamie idea a couple of days ago, and I thought, one more thing to put on this campaign, which, by the way, you helped me design this campaign, Mike. Thank you so much for busting your butt for the past week and a half. There's a handful of people that we reached out to behind the scenes to kind of stress test it to see if it's from a consumer perspective, if we were doing the right thing. So thank you if you are in chat as you looked behind the curtain to give us your feedback to how to make this campaign run as lean and as smooth as possible. Anyway, like I said, we were, I was thinking about, hey, let's put this up on the campaign. Say this is like one of those things that we're giving away. Thank you so much. But, one less thing. And I am less stressed about Book 2 than I was about Book 1. And I don't know what it was. Maybe because it's the first time going to Disneyland, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm walking into.
Just as a third party, just watching you, it is like night and day. You were full of this amazing, but almost anxious energy, as one would expect, right? I mean, if you were stone cold throughout the first campaign, you'd be a sociopath. But you definitely had this kind of like, we're gonna do this. This is my first campaign. We're going for it. And now you're just the analogy I gave the other day was like a pilot flying off his first commercial flight versus like you skipped. You're not even on flight number 2. You jumped to you're like, this is like campaign 2. You're at like campaign 20 mentality. They're like, we've got this. Yeah. No, I love it.
I'm obviously anxious about making sure. The only part that I'm really nervous about, not necessarily the success of the campaign, but the anxiousness comes from, did we press all the right buttons? Did we, you know what I mean? Did we populate all the right fields with the ideal information?
Right.
Or with the right information? Because I've heard nightmare scenarios where people sort of, how would you say it? Underestimated how much things would cost to get overseas. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And my gosh, some people, it breaks my heart because some of these guys who launch these campaigns end up losing their shirt because they hit the button worldwide, not realizing trying to ship it to anything over in Europe, anything over the Atlantic Ocean is a small fortune depending on where you're sending it to, right? And so on that note, for those of you who have already been to the campaign, or for those of you who are considering it, and depending on what side of the world that you're on, due to the nature of just these, you have to find a way to run a business as well as mitigate the logistics of having stuff sent out to you. There's only certain regions that we are, by we I mean Iconic Comics, that are distributing to. And I know that had been such a huge point of contention with some people. Hey, I live in, name a part of the world, like Sweden or something, Ireland,
The Philippines.
Exactly. But screw the Filipinos. I'm just I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love the Filipinos. That side of the world, right? The heartbreaking nature of it is just trying to get those things to you. The heartbreaking and realistic nature of getting those things to you is you're going to be funding potentially at the lowest tier, $25 book, right? And by the way, we'll take a look at the campaign just so everybody can have an idea of what the items and the tiers are. I think that's one of the key things of learning that I took away from Michael Bancroft's stream, is that he went over every tier and what was involved with the campaign. I thought that was brilliant. Anyway, the logistical challenges of getting these books out to you. Let's say at the lowest tier, you are going to support the campaign, support the team at $25 because that's how much the book is, right?
Yes.
Well, depending on which part of the world you are, shipping and handling could cost you twice as much as that just to get it to you. Because, and the reason for that is we could probably just shove this book into some weird media mailer, get it to you, and heaven forbid it ends up getting banged up while it's in transit to your side of the world. And oh my gosh, that would just, first of all, that would be so disappointing as a customer, as a backer. But also, I think it would ding the reputation of the white glove treatment that Iconic Comics puts each and every single one of these products as they send it out to you, right? So it was a balancing act. It was discovering which region of the world is populated by a good chunk of our fans, not everybody, right? A good chunk of my supporters, but also finding a way to get it to them as cost effectively as possible. And those two criteria alone had a tendency to sort of select out certain parts of the planet. All right. So ahead of time, I want to tell you what those regions are. Obviously, United States, it's Canada, the UK, Germany, I think it is, right? Japan, and I can't remember Australia. All right, so that's 5 in total, or is that 6? But it's easy to find in that campaign where it is going, if it is available to be shipped to your region of the world. Now, I got a little bit of an announcement after, closer to actually, as soon as we go over this campaign, remind me to talk about this announcement, Mike, as far as digital distribution is concerned.
Oh, cool? Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was just showing everybody the box, by the way. So when you're talking about the white glove treatment, the literal box in which it shows up in is by far the best box that I've ever been delivered comic books. The art is incredible. It makes it feel like, I'm not being like facetious or silly.
I think you are.
It actually makes you feel special. Like when you see it, it stands out, and you get excited for it. It's like it's fucking Christmas, you know? I don't know. So yeah, that's expensive.
You're biased, but I appreciate it.
I'm biased, but it's true. Yeah.
All right, can we go over this campaign really quick?
All right, can we do little shout outs, like 3 shout outs for our backers? Nikki, backer number 11, Keeper Anthony.
Me to go back. Yeah. Go ahead. Continue.
Backer number 5, Reagan Lodge is in here. Backer number 14, Dojin Comics. Hello there. Backer number 15, Backer 16, Billy. Thank you, Billy. And Eric.
Thank you, everybody.
By all means.
Okay, so step 1, let's go over this campaign, shall we? I'm going to share my screen share the campaign itself, and we can go over it. Yes.
Let's do it.
You know what? I'm gonna have to do this in incognito. Oh no, I don't have to. I want to make sure I'm not accidentally doxing myself with anything that's on screen. Okay, this is pretty clean. Are you ready?
People are going to be showing up trying to watch Batman with us.
People are going to be buying tickets with us. And okay, here we go. Stop sharing the screen. Let me share this.
Here we are.
Let me share this tab. Tell me when it comes up, buddy, and I can scroll through it.
There it is. There she is, in all her glory.
Okay, so this is the new campaign, ATHENA, book 2 of 6. The book is called Dawn of Monsters, and it's a follow-up to book 1. We are incredibly excited by it. So what should we look at first, Mike? Any ideas? Should we just scroll through and take a look at art?
Listen, I'm partial to looking at those covers.
Okay, let's do that. And then at the very least, I can say thank you so much for busting your butt and setting up this campaign. Here we go. Here's cover 1.
Oh.
Can you see the entire screen? Are you able to
Oh yeah,
view
I
it
see it.
accordingly?
There she goes.
All right, here we go. All right, that's cover 1. Actually, it's
Look at those
cover A. Right?
colors.
This is the standard edition. By the way, is Giuliano still in chat? My gosh, look at the freaking hard work that guy did. Now, here's the
Right.
invisible. I think there's an invisible component to this. Well, not so invisible, but if you're not paying attention, it may just kind of fall away in the background, which by design is what he loves to do. See all of this like effect that's happening back here, this radiating sort of like video / gradation line. That's all Leonardo Olea who's doing all of that, right? Leo sets up
Whoa.
all the titles, all the logos, all the effects, all of the, all of the fonts. This little small design changes every single book. It's all thematically aligned to the character that we're focusing on conceptually in that book. So if you look at book 1 for Arc Athena, that one is like the power amplifier that Divana wears on her armor. This one is the psychokinetic engine that's on Gristle's armor here. Anyway, so thank you to Leo. Thank you for turning it around so quickly. Amazing work from the team all the way around. There's me. There's Giuliano, and there's another unsung hero, a fellow by the name of Eric Weathers, who dealt with me for about 2.5 months as Joe and I. That guy, my editor Joe Fulton, is, I think, the guy that deserves the MVP. Not only because he does so much heavy lifting, because he puts this thing through such a fine-tooth comb, this project, as far as like the narrative, the words, but also in its final execution before it goes to Eric, and they go back and forth on how the balloon should look, the placement, the nuances of how to make it legible for the reader. So thank you to Eric, thank you Joe. That's cover A, or the special. Excuse me. That's the standard edition, and this is cover.
Can I be honest with you for a second?
Yeah, go.
I have stared at that image for probably hours at this point. I never caught the video effect. I never caught it. It's so subtle.
That's what I mean. Again, that's Leo's intention, right? That's Leo by design, which is to say, how do I help amplify the idea or the motifs of this, of whatever the heck I'm looking at? And he has a tendency to just kind of blend it out in the background. Now, here's another one, and you won't see it because there's no original file for us to do a point of comparison. But this is cover B, which is the limited edition, limited by way of 500 copies total. The original of this had it had this yellow in the background, but it was much too subtle, at least for Leo's taste. So Leo just grabbed that entire background back there and just bumped it up, and here it is in stunning red, orange, magenta glory. So this is cover B, the limited edition, limited to 500. And now we're going to get into some samples of the art. If the what do you call it would load? The images would load. So these are in no specific order. And by the way, I trusted Mike implicitly to pick out pages that would help represent the issues well. I know that issue 1, people were kind of hyped up on all of the action, me not letting off the gas pedal, and people were fighting pretty much for the, 2/3, 3/4 of the 64-page issue. So that was fun, but now we start on the beginning part of the story. And so there's going to be, I don't want to say less action, but there's definitely more narrative, right?
Yeah. I actually try to style the panels that we show in the preview in a way more like a trailer. Like when you're on the site and you're scrolling through, try to imagine it like you're watching a movie trailer pan out.
I'm into it so much. These are the color stylings, the color genius of Giuliano Paratelli.
Giuliano knocking it out of the park.
I'm telling you, what's great about working with Jules is that it doesn't take much to give him like a little prompt, it should feel like this, it should look like this, it should, evoke a feeling like this, right? And then he goes to town. And that's rare that happens, because I would say 7-8 times out of 10, it's already there. There are only times when I go, oh, there's no way for him to have read my mind about that, and there was a very specific effect that I was trying to go for, and we're rolling up on one of those effects right now. So here's our resident assassin, a character by the name of Hypersexual, which had a great scene in book 1. I won't spoil it for you, by the way. If you don't have book 1, that's going to be available in this campaign. We'll go over into tiers in a few seconds. Here's the effects that I had sent to, or I had talked about with Giuliano. See, this sort of, the best way I described it to him was this pixelated slash Into the Spider-Verse duotone, right? This screen tone.
Yeah.
And it's because while Hypersexual is disassembled like this, or while she's sort of like in mid-repair, her consciousness is going into what we referringly call the internet that's running in parallel to our current one, effectively the one that's not available for public use. And so she sends out her consciousness into that internet so that she can pretty much be a watchdog for Arc Poseidon and next mission that they may be going through. So she has multiple consciousness. In this case, there's no dialogue boxes, but it was something like consciousness 700 something, you know?
Yeah.
But while she's there, you know, she has a tiny little bit of an adventure. I won't spoil it for anybody. Here we go. More artwork. More cool Giuliano saves my butt artwork.
Are those
okay? So
are those bisexual colors?
Are they bisexual? Well, if they are, we're reclaiming them.
We're taking them back.
We're taking them back. I know people have an aversion, almost an allergic reaction to these kinds of combinations of colors, but in the sci-fi world, especially if you go back to like what had influenced and impacted me, the thing that helped to move me in the direction of doing this miniseries, which is like old school 90s comics. These colors didn't have that association. It was just cool.
No.
You know? So why do I care about it now? You know, I'm not going to go diving any depth into that kind of silliness.
I'm doing it because it's colors. Cool. I immediately think cyberpunk. You know, we're dealing with a Blade Runner-esque, you know, Neo. It's like, neon, post-apocalyptic neon, like capitalist horror is where my head goes.
There you go. I'm into it. Okay, so here's the two covers side by side, and if you can, I don't know if it's coming through clearly on your screen, Mike, but there's an effect for the UV.
I can see the sheen.
You did. Yeah, that's where all the spot UV is going to be on either of those covers.
Yeah, here's
which is really nice.
Here's the effect in real time on your screen. This is what the effect looks like in actuality. Actually, not all that dissimilar. So you can see where the UV is, gang.
What are we looking at? Are you holding up book 1?
Yeah, can you not see?
Well, I'm not looking at the screen. I'm scrolling.
How dare you? Yeah, I'm holding up. I'm holding up book 1.
Okay, and now, in line and in the tradition of the first campaign, here is the black and white artist edition. It's 11 by 17 inches, 54 pages. All the pages interior are uncolored in their original bear and version form.
Amazing.
Right? By the way, this book is completely done already. All 64 pages. As a matter of fact, I just got an update from the printer last week, and we are on track. So by the end of this campaign, I know it's not a surprise to anybody by now because Iconic has a really, really great sort of track record of getting these books to you very quickly, and it's critical in the sense of this series because there's 6 of them. It's not just the one-off, and then I wait another 7 to 8 months to launch the next campaign because it's the mini-series, and I want to keep it fresh in your mind. I need to be able to launch these books at a certain frequency where you don't forget what happened in issue 1. So we're going to be delivering this thing pretty quickly. End of campaign, into your hands, no later than 4 months. Because this book is already done, because this book has already been sort of, I've already gone through the proofs, the printer's already putting it on the rolls, or whatever it is that they do to print things now. It will be ready for you very, very quickly. And as an initial first thank you to the people who are in on the early adopter phase of book 2, we're going to be giving away this, what is this, 6x9 mini print That's going to have silver foil on it and where the logo is and where the title of the book is. Thank you very much to everybody who's there.
Yes.
And in the campaign, you're going to be able to have a couple of add-ons. So let's go to those. Let's go to the campaign now. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's check out those add-ons.
I don't know if I need to literally click on any of the stuff on the sidebar. We can just you can see them. Yes. So
yeah, I see them.
In the feature tier, you're going to get the standard edition cover, the limited edition cover, as well as the 11x17 black and white artist edition. That's going for, what is it, $90, right? And it's going to be shipping to the locations that we spoke about earlier. There's a standard edition tier at $25, right? Then there is the limited edition tier, and because the nature of it is limited edition, like I said, 500 copies in total. There's a price bump of $10 to $35. And then you can get both A and B covers, limited edition and standard edition, as a bundle. And here's one that somebody was really kind about sort of introducing it, because I never thought about it, right? Because again, I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm completely focused and honed in on campaign 2. But some people missed campaign 1. It would have been nice, somebody mentioned that, hey, if you come up with a tier that makes that book from campaign 1 available, it is actually beneficial for people to go, hey, I didn't understand your track record, or I was a little bit gun shy because I didn't know what the book was about. I've now heard great word of mouth about it. Let me try getting in on it now. And now here's a tier that makes that available to you. So book 1 standard edition, book 2 standard edition available as a tier to you, right? Here's one with just the standard edition, book 1, black and white artist edition, right? And then for those of you who want to support the campaign as well as my art, here is a tier that has book 1 standard edition with the 9x12 original character commission sketch that you get commissioned from me. It's a bust. It's in black and white and pen and ink. And then, as I've told, I've been pretty transparent about the cover being done digitally, but there is a tier here, and it's a one-off that I will recreate that cover in black and white, traditional art, using all of the tools and materials at my disposal to recreate that art. And again, it's just going to be the one-off for you, and that's available at this very, I think, a pretty decent tier. Decently priced here.
Yes. Well,
okay.
For a collector, for sure.
That is it. I'm going to get back to drawing now, and I'm going to start thanking everybody. I'm going to get back to chat in a second. Start thanking everybody.
Let's see. Got some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'll get to the questions. Let's do it. Okay, I'm going to scroll up to where we were.
Take it from the top.
Let's take it from the top. I'm going to find where we... here we go. I remember Dojo saying backer number 15. By the way, those of you who have backed it early, thank you so much. If you can spread the word to people who you think will be entertained by the book. Some of you, I suspect, most of you have already read issue 1. If you think it's worth backing to issue 2 and issue 1, please spread the word around. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much ahead of time.
You know, I want to ask him a question just out of curiosity. For those of you who read the first book, without any spoilers, who is your favorite character?
I'd be curious to know. There was this guy, and actually, let me go through chat really quick, and maybe
yes.
Okay, so Billy, thanks so much. Backer number 16. Reagan says, yeah, Iconic does an amazing job with their shipping quality. They are such a great team. They truly are. I think I fell under a very fortunate star when they took me on as a client, and it was only through the good graces and obviously the recommendation of one Mr. Tim Lim that allowed me to get through sort of the I would think the rigorous gate, right, of what do you call it? Rigorous grade of, I don't know what you would call it, Mike. They put me through a pretty rigorous process to make sure I was going to live up to the potential of the book, that I wasn't just talking out the side of my neck.
Oh, I love that. I love accountability.
I love that too. So thank you so much to them. It is through their gold standard that I am benefiting. So thank you, Iconic. Thank you very much, Tim.
We got somebody going for the special edition cover.
I'm into it. Okay, I just ordered the second book. I can't wait. Thank you so much, Eden Sanders. So explain this to me. Why go to Iconic when you could have brought it back to Dark Horse, Image, and maybe even IDW? That's a great question, Mitchell. And it's because I personally just wanted to do it under my own steam. Now, would those? There was no. That's not automatic to just go to Dark Horse, to just go to Image, and just go to IDW and say, "Hey, I have a book." And I'm going to have, you guys are going to publish it. That's not automatic. So to say that I had, to say that why didn't I do that? I could have pursued. I would think I know a few people in those publishing houses that would give me the time of day, but then ultimately I didn't want to have to deal with the headache of like pitching and seeing how it would fit within their roster, fit within where they're. Fit where their whatever publishing schedule is, and I just wanted to do it under my own steam to see if I could do it.
Hey, I've got a question about working for a publisher like that, without getting into specifics. What is the editorialship like over there? Like, how are they hands on, hands off?
I think that's pretty. I think it ranges, right? It all depends on what your relationship is with that publisher. I think if they've had this is just theory. I remember when I did stuff through Image way back in the day, they were pretty hands off. They were like, handle your own stuff, handle your own shipping, handle your own coloring. We'll worry about the accounting, we'll worry about the distribution. But for the most part, they left me alone. I'm not saying it's like that across the board, but I think it all depends on what your relationship is with that publisher.
Okay, all right.
Hello, Dean. You are so calm while talking, drawing, informing, and keeping on track. I'd sell for any one of those talents. Thank you so much, man. Great to see you here. Grabbing this next week. First issue is great. Thank you so much, Hicks Villain. To get you to 5/27 is February/March Indie Comics Month. Common America, The Girl with the Megafist, Arc, Athena, and soon Soulfinder. I think from the Iconic side, we're trying to stagger our release dates so we're not stepping on top of each other. I remember when Tim was launching Common America, and he was saying how I was gonna write. I mean, I love writing on Tim's coattails, right? Whatever hype Tim gets, I like getting the sort of like the backsplash from it. Yeah, the frag, the extra sort of
shrapnel.
I want to get my accidental shrapnel of success. But I remember he was, when Tim goes, he goes full steam, right? Between him and Mark, they go into full campaign mode. And the last thing I'd want to do is to have Tim kind of like, have me hold him back, right? And also, I just wanted to see what the momentum and potentially the numbers of the book would be without having to have Tim sort of ice breaking the glaciers in front of me. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to stagger it 1 month away from you. And then I think it just happened to work out that it was 1 month before Doug Ernst's book, Soulfinder. I think that might be next month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Great timing.
Those guys are, it just worked out perfectly, I thought. Eric, I had to send Giuliano a DM about the dopeness of Athena. I'm colorblind and haven't seen depth like this in more than 10 years. Thank you so much.
Love that comment.
And I suspect that Giuliano is going to be on cloud 9 if you tell him that. I know. And here's the thing. I bust that kid's butt with every single panel to the point now where he's almost gun shy about introducing new things. I'm glad that he's getting his steam back under him. I think he just wants to do such a good job with that book, right? He wants to do a good job about representing not just himself, but obviously the team and me. Yeah. That he's just making sure that it's as how I see it. But I always try to reaffirm with him, like, you're not on the team because you're just an extension of my hand because I can't color. You're on the team because I know you can do as much heavy lifting as I can.
Oh, so see, here I was thinking that him and I were on the team because we were minority hires.
No, you are. Those two things can happen at the same time. I need to check a couple boxes. You represent the ambiguous, I don't know where you come from box. Yeah, obviously. I'm just kidding. Getting back on track before you derail me, that's pretty damn funny. So yeah, now he's really is representing himself, really representing the book, and I'm so glad that he's on the team. I hope he's still in chat. I hope he reads your comments. I'm sure it's gonna make him feel really, really good. Reagan says, I've got first 2 Soul Finder books and they're great. Gonna get Digital Common America Omnibus. That's awesome. Common American Soul Finder are mediocre. Get out of here. Get out of here. To each their own. To each their own,
Yes.
I say.
Yes, yes.
Can I post a print of your DM? Thank you so much. That's awesome. How dare you not wait half a decade before you get to issue 2? Is it half a decade? What is that, 5 years?
5 years, huh?
I just can't imagine it because I don't know how I could. I don't know how I would be able to. I think this is more of an awareness of what my tendencies and particularities are, which is if I take too long working on something, I get sick of working on it. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
It kind of starts to become a hassle. It starts to become a task as opposed to something that, as long as it has been, when did we start ATHENA? Almost a year ago now, maybe a year plus.
Yeah.
As long ago as that was, 12 months isn't that long, and I'm still able to sort of retain the momentum, enthusiasm that I had when I first came up with the story and came up with the idea and came up with the project. So I'm trying to bottle that and distribute it into my sort of, whatever thing in the back of my brain that keeps momentum up, keeps enthusiasm up. And if I took 2 years to do 6 issues, 3 years to do 6 issues, I think I'll get pretty sick of it. I have a very, very short attention span. Tygia says, ask Eric, will you be with Iconic at Bell County Comic Con? I am planning on it.
Whoa, where's that?
It's in Bell County.
Well, I mean, what? Oh, famous Bell County.
The Bell County.
Forgive me.
Those guys at Iconic have a secret handshake that haven't taught me yet, but if they were so kind as to open the invitation to me, I'd be happy to show up. Be happy to represent them. U.S. shipping increased by 50% last time from 8 to 12. Oh, it is not an error. The world has changed significantly, and not just the actual. Keep in mind the term is shipping and handling, right? So some of those supplies we are, actively trying to keep out of the mix in as far as like passing those costs on to you. But again, the logistics of shipping anything to you becomes that much more challenging, not just because of the actual door-to-door, person that's carrying your package, but also manufacturing everything has become that much more expensive. We're trying to keep those costs at the bare minimum, actively trying not to pass that on to our backers and to our customers. But there's just some things that's out of our hands.
Of course.
By the way, thank you so much, Hugh, for bringing that up. Thank you so much for supporting. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mitchell says, hey, look, I can actually add it to the chat. Look at this. Look at that.
Oh.
Will you at least have the book on Kickstarter? I will not. No, I won't. This is the 30-day campaign for this book as we are barreling towards book 3. If Giuliano's still in chat, he's already well underway working on book 3. Because again, we've got to keep for me, just for my own sort of state of mind, I'm going to try to keep these books coming out at a regular pace, at a regular cadence, and running a secondary campaign on Kickstarter would be a tiny bit too overwhelming for me as far as my time is concerned, because this isn't the only thing that I do on my day-to-day.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how. I don't know where Tim gets the energy, man.
Yeah, I don't know either. He's a different breed. I'm going for the special edition cover. Thank you so much. Let's see. Hello, how are you, Black Rose? Thank you so much for being here. Who am I catching? I'm hoping that I'm catching Vegan has said, Ernst has been cool in my experience. He's been doubly cool in my experience. He's always been accommodating to me. He's always available to me at any time if I have any sort of questions in regards to campaigns. His experience, he's able to just, give that away to me as much as possible. He's critical of people who, this is how I see it. Like, Doug has a very, it has high moral standards. That's what I've seen from him. And he's very critical of people online who act like fools, who often talk one way and act another. And so, I have an appreciation for the way he holds people accountable.
Oh,
Ben Templesmith is here. How are you, man?
Oh, dude.
Oh, by the way, Benji, congratulations on closing out your campaign. I don't know how many days ago that you had crossed that particular finish line, but congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting me. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ben Templesmith. Dude, I got some Ben Templesmith trivia for you. Did you know that his name is actually Ben on the birth certificate? It's not Benjamin?
No.
Yeah,
they didn't give him the. You know what it is?
Benjamin
they spent.
He was like, nope.
They spent all their money on the Templesmith part. They spent all their money on the letters for the second part. Yeah.
That is a very British sounding name. I want one of those.
A British sounding name?
Yeah. Yeah, like Michael Pennyworth. We're going with Alfred. So stupid. All right, go on. Apologies.
Giuliano says, as always, thank you for the kind words. I'm really glad to be part of this amazing team. I think you'll be able to exhale once we have book 6 in the can. And I'm not twisting your arm about making inane changes that probably only I will see. You and I will see, you more hatefully so than I will. But dude, thank you so much for tolerating me. I really appreciate it.
Giuliano.
Jean-Luc says, will your wildly fun time lapses ever make a return to YouTube? I owe you a lot of money. I don't know. Those were so difficult to, and I'm telling you, just based on my day today, it's very difficult for me to block out X amount of time to put those things together. I know for some people it's very easy. I wish I had a process that wasn't as laborious, or I cared less about the time lapses and I didn't put as much production into them, just like kind of start them and talk over and put music on top and blah, blah, blah. But like,
right.
I get too hung up about trying to make to polish that particular turd, so to speak.
How dare you?
Hey, Eric, what's the difference between standard edition and limited edition? Great question, Alexander Chrisley. It is that the limited edition is limited to only 500 copies total. Standard edition, I think.
There you go.
I can't remember what the final runoff is. And also just the 2 covers, obviously. So limited to 500 in total. Hey, look at that. No, it's Ben on my very legal change of name form. You were right.
There you go. I told you.
I think this is an answer to your previous question, Mike the Gristle. Definitely my favorite character, Old Man Strength, close behind. The names alone just...
Oh.
The names were... the thing is, I kind of came up with the concept and the team, including their names, on a lark. It was almost like, I'll go back and change these. As soon as I get script 1, as soon as I get overview 1 or whatever it is, I'll just go like, okay, I'll change them. I'll come up with something cooler, right? Like Shadowhawk, whatever.
Right.
Like whatever its cool sounding name it is. But then at some point, as I was writing script 3, before I started, going back and like adjusting everything, I was just referring to them as those names already. So it just kind of stuck, And I think those names sort of as irreverent and as sort of like the I don't give a shitness about them, kind of fits the characters.
It does. No, it's perfect.
Right?
I gotta say, I do like no spoilers, but you for a handful of characters, you peel the curtain back a little bit. You get to see a little bit more, and you get to see a little bit more of Old Man Strength, just a pinch.
Yeah.
Really an awesome. I was hyped seeing what I saw. So, so you're just gonna have to not to tease you too much.
Support your style speaks to me. Thank you so much, man. What do you call your favorite shape? The one with tang or tang extended? I have. That's a great question. I have no idea what you're talking about. What do I call my favorite shape? The one with tang or tag extended from the.
My one were I to poontang, but that's not a shape, Eric.
I know, dude. That's just awful, is what that is. Backer number 60 at work. Thank you so much, Unhinged. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I appreciate your patronage. I'm going to draw now. I think I'm caught up with chat. I'm near the bottom.
Yeah. Now you are free. You are free to draw.
I'm free to draw. All right. As I said, these are going to be, I'm hoping I can get these out the door. And by out the door, I mean to, what do you call it? To the printers.
Yeah.
Before the campaign ends. At least that way it'll give me some level of mental comfort. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Everything is out. It's not, it's up to somebody else now, not just me. I hate holding people up. I hate it when I have to, like, I remember I was talking to Joe offline 2 days ago, Joe Fulton, my editor, and
yeah.
He had gone, he put a polish pass on book 2. And I knew that I hadn't done that for myself. So the only way Joe could work, unless I communicate to him or he gets like mind reading powers, is if he understands that final pass before I hand it to him is my sort of, okay, that's it. That's as much as I'm willing to do. You put a fine tooth comb through it, make everything look as pretty as possible, right?
Right.
I hadn't done that yet, but Joe understood the deadline. So he said, hey, Eric, how about I help you by getting ahead of this thing for you? I didn't communicate to him that I hadn't done my sort of finalish pass on it already or yet. And so he took it to a level of finish, delivered it to the letterer, Eric Weathers, and Eric took to the task of lettering that book. And after I read it, I still did technically that final pass that I didn't give to Joe. And so it surprised Joe when he was reading it, and to the point where he reached out and said, hey, Eric, was there any changes in the scripts I did? Because what he had in front of him versus the pages that Weathers was delivering were a bit off. Not entirely. It wasn't like a whole sort of like rewrite wholesale, right? But there were things in there that Joe wanted to make sure were coming from me. And I said, yeah, Joe, that's my bad, And again, because Joe is just like, that was water off Joe's back. He was just like, cool. But we had a conversation a few days ago where he said, hey, in order to do this well, in order for us to optimize our efforts, let's talk about, and most importantly, let's get you into a place where you are doing your final pass before I do my pass on it, my polished pass on it, and before we give it to Eric, because it ends up wasting people's time, And that to me that was on me, obviously, and I hate doing that. I hate being the person that's holding up the entire process. And if there's one thing I learned through this entire experience, is that I did not give enough appreciation for the individuals in the editorial staff or pre-production staff when I was working in the mainstream industry. That I would be late by a week, be late by 2 weeks, sometimes a month, and that's like, Jesus, that's incorrigible. But like, I would be late and just be like, oh, it's done. And then 3 months later, 4 months later, the book comes out and there it is, right? What you don't see are the people toiling away because you were a week late or a month late.
Right. Yeah.
So that to me, especially now that I'm experiencing it firsthand, and I shouldn't have done it to begin with, but it was almost like, and this sounds really bad, but it was almost like out of sight, out of mind, right? Like I did my job, you guys get to do your job. Well, that job means, they've got to find a way to make up me being late by a week or a month, right? Somebody's got to stick around and bust their butt so that this thing can get to the printers on time,
They've got to cover that ground for you.
Exactly. They got to make that time for me. And I experience that now because, again, I'm in that much more intimately plugged into the entire pre-production, sometimes post-production process, that hearing something like that or doing something like that, I feel that much more guilty, right? Everybody's trying to do their job well. If I'm the person that's holding them up, oh man, it really hurts,
Yeah, no. Listen, you're that's called, well, I mean, it's twofold. One, you're a human being and you're actually thinking about the struggles of other human beings, but also you are a businessman, and you understand how the workflow and the chain of command is, right? And if if anybody else in the you know in the supply chain, if you will, we're holding things up, right?
Yeah.
You'd say something, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I am going to do my best moving forward to not be the person that holds people up. I think that that's the best way to pay attention to that. Did I call somebody Jason by accident? Because I said Jason and I don't know what she's referring to. Did I say Joe instead of Jason? Or did I say Jason instead of Joe?
Maybe you're thinking of Joe, but you thought of
Maybe
Shatner.
thought. Yeah.
Shatter.
Yeah. Jean-Luc is asking, is there a way to procure some of your brushes? Are you selling them as a Procreate pack? Oh my gosh. You are not the first person to ask, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable selling the brushes that I have because number one, I don't think I outright amended them, created them independent of nothing. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I don't think it would. I renamed them for sure for my own personal sort of, bookkeeping, but that's as far as my changes go. And I don't know if I'd feel comfortable going like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so's brushes from that brush pack. I just renamed it because I'm too dumb to remember what the original name was. I'm using them for my pre-production now for these pages. I'm going to make them available to you at like $3 or whatever it is. That's still, I wouldn't feel right about that. So
Just slapping Canetti's name on it.
yeah, exactly. I'm just like, you can almost peel off my label
Yeah.
and see the original label underneath. You know what I mean?
This is Canetti brand cola. It's like, this tastes just like Pepsi.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just changed the Pepsi logo to like purple and orange instead of like the fucking blue and red, right? Somebody's giving Ben a little bit of love as far as his work.
Oh.
Love your work too, Ben. You did a really cool Dune series a while back on Instagram. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that Ben did anything Dune related. That's great.
Dude, Ben's been doing the indie artist thing way before it was fashionable.
Is that true? How long have you been at it, Ben?
Yeah.
Ben,
how long have you been doing your own thing? I feel like he's been doing it like a decade at this point. That might just be my early onset dementia talking, but we'll find
why
out.
don't we ask him here? I'm gonna send Ben the link, and maybe he can jump in the chat with us. No pressure, Ben. Maybe you can just sit in with us if you have the time to. I don't know what you're doing right now. You could be on a plane because that's how you do.
Are we playing Who Knows Ben more? Well, I'm going to text Ben some gifts of pornography.
Let's see if I can send him to the link to this chat.
Been fully independent for many years.
Ben is.
That's what he says.
I don't
Old
believe
BT. Old BT Smith.
Are you just
What
trying
a
to come up
sweetheart.
with names for the guy?
Yeah. Ben isn't somehow enough of a nickname.
Yeah, it's literally one syllable. I don't know how much shorter it can fucking be.
Just a grunt.
Bye, Nikki. Thank you so much for dropping by.
Bye.
And thank you for your support.
Thank you for the support. Oh, you know what? We are at 67 backers.
Yes. Yes. That's good.
At over $5,000 American.
What else have I learned in the previous campaign? Actually, that's an interesting to think about. I think part of the calmness that I'm going through now stems from the fact that it's less undiscovered space. It's more like, hey, let's get this right? It's not like, oh, I never knew about that and therefore that causes me anxiety. Except for right now, before I hit that launch button, there are certain areas of this Indiegogo campaign that you actually have to populate in order for them to be able to pay out to you. You need to, like, what do they need to do? They need to confirm your identity or confirm your account or whatever it is. And I forgot that needs to be populated before I can hit the go live. It would have been really bad if I said, hey, at 10 o'clock, I'm going to go live, and then press a button and it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that would have been horribly embarrassing. But outside of that, there wasn't too much about the campaign side that was nerve-wracking, as much as you and I understanding what we needed to do by way of these tiers and making sure that these tiers are as optimized as possible. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. That was I will say it was remarkably...
Your best friend, Ben. We're going to bring him in. There he is.
Let's grab him. There he is. Look at him.
Mr. Ben Templesmith, how are you, man?
You should not have done this.
Is it an early drinking day for you? Is that why I should have done it?
I just woke up and I sat in front of the computer.
Thank you for being here, Ben.
I did remember you were launching, so I had to support it. So yeah.
Thank you, man. By the way, congratulations on closing out, reaching that finish line for your book. How long ago was that that the end came? Is it still going or not going?
The 24th. It's still in on demand if people do want to book.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But, yeah.
How has that been for you? The in demand portion of it. I just can't imagine the logistics behind it.
It's pretty. So far, I like Indiegogo. It's been pretty easy. It looks very it's nice and simple, and so I swapped to. It's a higher price now than during the campaign.
Sure.
So it's like a separate product.
Sure.
Area. Man, I even made a whole separate website just for Australians because the USPS won't ship there. Still,
is that right?
You can get around it now. So, yeah, no, it's fun. And thank you for all the support. If anyone did buy a book, so it's been a nice little thing. So
I think there's been plenty of people in chat that were supporting your book, supporting your work. So thank you to everyone. Let me answer this question here. It says, so Eric, you worked with Tony Salmons in the past. What was that like with him working in the past? That was educational as heck. So Tony is a particular character. I remember I didn't know who he was when I'm almost embarrassed to say that, but I didn't know who he was when I first met him we were working on Aeon Flux 2 together. Aeon Flux 2 being the longer form version for MTV, the one that actually had dialogue and extended plot narrative. But I was introduced to him by Peter Chung, and Peter was the executive producer / supervising director of that series. And Peter clearly knew who he was, had a high level of respect and reverence for him. And the way he introduced it to me, and by the way, when I was working on Aeon with Tony, I was all of 19, 20. I was a kid. So if your name wasn't Jim Lee, I didn't give a shit about you. You know what I mean? Like if you weren't working, if you weren't starting Image Comics, I didn't care about you. And so he was. I remember meeting Tony, being introduced to him from Peter. Oh, Eric, this is Tony Salmons, and the way Peter's face was like, you should know who this guy is. And I was like, whatever, Tony. And so he and I got an opportunity to talk, get to know each other. And I remember he was looking for a place to stay because we were doing, Aeon Flux was in San Francisco at the time. And he was looking for a place to stay. I had a very small, but for me back then, ultra expensive studio apartment in San Francisco. I asked him, hey man, if you can split the rent with me, that would be great. And that's how we became pals, right? He was working on, I think it was under the Vertigo banner, if not, apologies. He was working on Vigilante at the time. And I was looking at those pages as he was working on them off hours and didn't realize how good the guy was until much, much later. So fast forward to easily 7 years after the fact, maybe as many as 10. And I was at Warner Brothers working on Teen Titans with Glenn Murakami. And Glenn was like flipping through that book. And Glenn goes, do you know Tony Salmon's work? And I said, oh yeah, he's my roommate. And the the bulging eyeballs that everybody had in that room, because again, they had a high level of reverence for him and the work he's done, was pretty dang entertaining. Overall, Tony never was full of himself. He was never like, hey, look at me, look at who I am. He was just doing his best to sort of, I think that may have been his first, if not one of the first animation gigs he'd ever done. So, and I can't remember which episodes that he worked on, but he had some pretty outlandish designs that Peter would then take and like reform to something that was more series appropriate, cartoon appropriate. A really, really good guy. I've since lost touch with him. Oh gosh, when was the last time that he and I ran into each other in San Diego? I hope he's doing well. Sumo says backers 66 didn't want to miss out on the 9x12 bytes sketch bus this time. Thank you so much, Sumo. Much appreciated. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Peter Chung is so cool. He's not that cool. I'll tell you a story about that guy, and I think some of you have heard it already, so bear with me if you have. Right out of high school, I didn't really have a direction as far as what my career was going to be. My mother, a Filipino woman that she was, always was insisting on college, but I was not smart enough to, first of all, apply, second of all, afford, by way of scholarships, any of these colleges that was quote unquote reputable. I gotta be honest with you, I'm glad that I didn't do any of it, because I would be in debt to this day.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so I went to San Diego Comic-Con trying to look for the job. This was in the era of Image Comics, Jim Lee, Wildcats, Youngblood, and Rob Liefeld, and so on. And I just couldn't get a bite. Nobody would look in my direction because I was drawing in that Aeon Flux style. That really super skinny, 10 heads, 12 heads high, waistlines as thin as my pinky finger. Came home pretty dejected and just started looking at a local community college to see what classes were available way after the fact. We're talking everything has been signed up, and the best thing I could have gotten was probably like basket weaving 101, And so there I was trying to figure out how to scratch 2 nickels together so I can afford some of these community. I mean, they were inexpensive relative to university classes, but these, they're still out of my range, right? What kind of job did I have back then? I can't remember. So sitting there trying to get my act together, and my phone rings, and I pick it up and I say, and some guy on the other end says, "Hello, this is Peter Chung." "Hello, this is Peter Chung. Can I speak to Eric Kennedy, please?" And I promptly hung up on him, and I said, I thought he was my friend Cleveland who was playing a prank on me. I said, "Fuck you, Cleveland. You're not Peter Chung," and hung up just like that, like. Because I don't know if you've heard Peter. Actually, he just recently did, all of 2 weeks ago, an interview with cartoonist Kayfabe. It's been years since I've talked to him directly, but he reached out to me offline after he had done that interview and said, "Hey, I spoke about you very favorably," and that's a huge feather in my cap. So yeah, if you can see it on their interview. I'm gonna do my imitation of Peter. He's like, "What? Hey, this is Peter Chung. Can I speak to Eric Kennedy, please?" And I said, "Fuck you, Cleveland. You're not Peter Chung. Get out of here." I hung up the phone. And thankfully, he called back and he said, "I swear this isn't Cleveland. This is Peter Chung. Can I speak to Eric Kennedy?" And that's when I knew that it clearly it wasn't my friend playing a prank, and I got really super nervous. And he asked me, "Hey, listen, I just saw your portfolio from San Diego Comic-Con. I was wondering if you would be interested in working on Aeon Flux with me in San Francisco, which is where I'm going to have the pre-production for the show." And to this day, he still has not told me how he saw my portfolio, because I came back from that San Diego. I just wasn't, like I said, I wasn't getting any sort of interest at all. But that guy is one of the key figures, key artists and mentors that walked me through how to get better at my craft. Now, when you're 21 and you get hired on Aeon Flux, like your ego just shoots through the roof. But also that egotistical nature of like, yeah, I'm really, really freaking cool. I think that was a defense mechanism, because once I landed in the production, and they were doing this at Colossal Pictures, which is the animation pre-production house that was up in San Francisco. They also did, MTV's commercials. They also did Levi's. They also did Burger King, a lot of like commercials for restaurants and obviously other products. Once I landed there, that mechanism of arrogance was a front, because they were so good. Every single person on there was so good. And in meeting Peter, when he I met him at his house in Los Angeles before I made that move. He took a look at my work again, and he said, well, what would you like to do? And I was like, what a huge question to ask a 21-year-old kid. And I said, well, what work is available? And he's like, well, it looks like, just based on your portfolio, it looks like you can do backgrounds, you can do environment designs. And I said, yes, I can do environment design. Which I kind of could,
Right.
But there is this one guy on the crew who was the main environment designer. He's basically the lead environment designer, if there was such a title. And Tom, I can't remember what Tom's last name was, but that guy's a rock star. That guy can pretty much draw I haven't seen anything like that in a long, long time. Memory being, rose-colored and everything, but he was so damn good. And I learned from him so much, along with all the artists, including Tony, that were on the crew, the storyboard artists and the prop artists. Now, Peter had a tendency to hire on people that were multifaceted in as far as their skill and craft set were concerned, right? So he would never bring on a person just because they were an environment artist. He would always bring them on because they were an environment artist plus, right? And in my case, I didn't really know how to do storyboards. I had done storyboard cleanup on the 93, 94 X-Men show as a freelancer and as a ghost freelancer. But I'd never done storyboards in earnest on my own before. So at the end of my tenure there as an environment artist, I think I was like third in the tier, if not fourth, definitely a rookie. He asked me, do you want to stick around? And if so, what else can you do? And I'm like, what's available? And he says, well, I'm kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to, because he was a supervising director, executive producer. I'm kind of behind the 8 ball schedule wise. I was supposed to storyboard the section of the final episode. What was scheduled to be the final episode ended up being the third of the final episode once it saw air. Called The Purge, right? And he said, I was going to do this, but unfortunately, I just don't have time. Do you want to try it? And I'm like, hell yes. Now, under his guidance, under his mentorship, I learned how to storyboard in the Aeon Flux style, and not just the visual, but obviously the way he sets up his shots and his composition. So I owe him such a great deal, because that started me down the path of like how to get better at my craft, understanding how to do good storytelling and composition and all those other things, and obviously getting more confident, because that was my first gig. Okay, let me catch up.
Hey, Richard.
Hello, Jimmy Reyes. How are you? Bill, welcome back. I don't know where you went off to. All right, you were playing Final Fantasy. Get out of here, Bill. Get out of here.
Boo.
My good pal, Richard Friend. Did I tell you my stories of Rich back when we were working at Wildstorm Days?
No, tell me.
I think, oh my gosh, Rich is such a great guy. And most importantly, he never acted like, this is the guy that worked with Travis Charest, right? Or back then to me, Travis Charest.
Wow.
So he has that sort of, working pedigree. But Rich never acted like a hoity-toity guy. He never acted like he was better than anybody. I remember when Dustin and I would make our way to La Jolla from Los Angeles. I think it was 3 times out of the week. And my biggest takeaway from Rich was he was just so enthusiastic about working in comics. To him, it was just like the coolest thing to be involved in a lot of these projects. He was always sort of on the lookout for the cool art that was out there. I think he was working at the time with Chris Boccello? Bocello?
Oh,
I don't know how you pronounce his name.
Bocello. I might be mistaken.
Bocello. He was working with him on Steampunk, and that was quite an operation, man. Have you seen Bocello's work?
Oh,
It's
Bocello.
out
His
of
work
control.
hasn't changed over the time, but it's always been really
Intense.
detailed and
Yeah.
it's so full of energy.
Yeah. Ben, do you know Chris's work at all? Do you know?
Yeah, I loved him on Gen X, Generation X.
Yeah.
No.
And
I always
think
said Baccello too.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if
I
it's
play
right.
it safe by saying it. I play safe by saying it both ways. But yeah, I think he was working on steampunk at the time, and he was tongue-in-cheekly salvaging the garbage that Dustin Wen was doing at the time. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You know I love you. I love you like a brother.
Did Richard Friend accompany you and Dustin on your legendary burger trips, your fast food burger trips?
Yes. Oftentimes we walked our butts across the street, and we would eat there as a collective between Dustin, myself, Rich, then Lee Bermejo, then Ali Garza, then Carlos Dianda. That was a fun
Amazing.
crew. But anyway, point is, Rich has been enthusiastic about comics since day one. I wish some of that enthusiasm would rub off on me, because sometimes I get tired. Doesn't seem like Rich ever does.
And hi, Rich. I remember Rich too.
Man, I'm old enough to have caught just a tail end of that era. Early 2000 SDCC was so cool. Yep, you could still walk up to the window, buy a ticket for all 3-4 days of the weekend without any problem. Now it's a whole production. So hello to you, Rich. Thank you for being here. I used to think that LaShawn Thomas was cool. I don't know if he ever... Why are we saying that? Why is it saying that in past tense? Did he pass away? Did something tragic happen? I hope not. LaShawn's a good artist. Man, that's epic. Wild to think that you maybe indirectly inspired me as an adolescent via your contribution to Aeon. That makes me feel old. Am I old? Am I 60, 70? I feel like I'm 60.
I thought you were like 49.
No, I don't. I stopped keeping track. You know how they say, like, kids make you young? Not myself. I go the opposite.
I think it's not understanding kids that makes you old now, because I don't understand a lot of stuff. The words. I'm officially old.
Richard Friend says, Chauncey, get to work.
Credit to Bochello. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't say anything to blow you up, did I? You were not a terrible person, Rich. Far from it. Was Rich bringing in broads into the wild? Yes, he was. All right, am I caught up with chat already? Hello, Chauncey. Rich is the people champ, and Blaster Kid is going to rock. I think, if I read this correctly, Rich is finishing up his most recent. He's going to be finishing up his most recent book, Crystal Planet, and now I hope this allows him to be full bore into doing Blaster Kid. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed for you. Fortnite Kitty, hello, how are you? Okay, I'm gonna get to draw, right? We said 2 hours. That should take me into lunch, and then I'm gonna be super hungry. I'm gonna excuse myself and thank everyone. I'm gonna take this little chat thing off because I get to see Ben's pretty face in the bottom box.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, it is not pretty, but thank you.
What are you up to now, Ben? What is the thing that you're currently banging away at right now?
My new character design for. Because I'm doing this thing. I'm doing a superhero book for my first time with Artists Elite. Or Artist Elite? I forget the name.
Yeah.
An anthology thing. We're all launching new properties. So trying to come up with my bad guy. It'd be called Dark Skulls. It's a goth superhero group. It's like if I was around in the early formation of Image, the book I would want to do.
Oh, nice.
No, it'll probably be stupid and horrible, but it's going to be fun. So.
Ben is time traveling to that era.
What is the? What is
grew
the?
Up in that era, man.
Yeah, right.
It's the stuff I loved, that I started with. Well, slightly before, but yeah.
Now, keep in mind, Mike's a young kid. He's what are you, Mike? 22, 23?
How dare you? I'm an old man.
Yeah, he doesn't look old, but he acts old.
Chauncey says, hello, Eric, by the way. Looking forward to Arc Athena and whether or not Killer Performance is having relations. Uh-oh. Listen to me. This is a PG rated book. How the thing that you're saying. Relation.
Yeah, you don't see any semen in any of the book at all, ever.
Well, no.
No.
How are you, Isaac? Okay, now I draw.
Eric, I've decided to sketch an Athenist.
An Arcathenist.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a...
Here, I'll show you.
It has been... What are you showing?
Where is it?
This has been the most bizarre but also educational experience I've ever had. Doing crowdfunding, especially in the geography that we're dealing with now. I felt like, and I think you may have heard me say this out loud before, Ben, where I felt like, in as far as comics is concerned, I was abducted from the planet, right? Left for a while, knew nothing about mainstream comics, knew nothing about, independent publishing, knew nothing about any sort of the personnel that existed. I had a snapshot of Twitter in my head of what it was.
Aye.
Right?
That's right.
And I had a snapshot of Twitter of what it was, and then the aliens were all done with me and put me back on the planet and said this wasn't worth. And then I took a look again at the geography, and I thought, everything is so weird. Everything is so strange, where there was a more than a spoonful of cynicism that I wasn't accustomed to. Because what I'd remembered before I stepped away, and to be clear, I only jokingly say I got abducted, but I went away to like doing animation, went away and doing video games, and it wasn't too far removed from mainstream comics, wasn't too far removed from independent publishing, and but it was removed just enough where I didn't even see it in my periphery, or just as a failing on my part, I wasn't really paying attention to comics anymore. But when I came back and said, hey, you know what? I still have a love for doing comics. I just don't have a love for doing comics for somebody else. And I think I'm ready to do it on my own terms now. And I feel like, just generally, as I did more research into it, I feel like there was a favorable reaction to that kind of exercise. And I'd come back and things had been, I'll say conservatively, like things had become so oddly polarized. Whereas
that's very conservative.
Understatement.
And in the past, I remember being able to, and this wasn't that long ago. It wasn't like 20 years ago where it's like, actually, you can't talk about VHS anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it was more like I'm being able to walk through a comic book convention, wherever it was, but let's use San Diego. And there was such a huge infusion of people trying to come up with their own books, trying to come up with their own projects. And it wasn't just art books. It wasn't just, and by the way, that's not diminishing those things, obviously, but it is a comic book convention after all. It wasn't just prints, and it wasn't just art books. It wasn't just like these one-offs. People were self-publishing. And I loved that. I was never brave enough to try it, right? Nor, it wasn't financially feasible for me. But the more these crowdfunding spaces became that opened up and became a viable place of raising these kinds of funds, so that you can back your own. You can create a project and actually get it done. I thought, what a perfect time to come back. But then things got weird. The more I looked around, the more I realized I don't know if these people are talking comics.
Right.
That was heartbreaking to me, because at the end of the day, regardless of the vitriol that I saw, I think people are most of them All right, we're very passionate about comics, but the conversation just got caught up into everything else but that.
What is? Sorry.
Comics seems to be doing everything it can to shoot itself in the foot these days, on like an economic level, on a business level as well.
For sure. For sure.
So, and you can't use a lot of things. Everything's, problematic, to use that word.
Yeah.
It's like it's a business platform. It's like it's generally apolitical. So I wanted to give Indiegogo a go, not because of other people on a platform, but because it's an alternative to the large one that everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
And comics, it's virtually been a monopoly distribution system for
sure
forever, with Diamond. So it's like I never support that. So I want to try everything.
Yeah.
And it's really, crowdfunding it's just a distribution mechanism.
I agree. You don't know how my eyes, you don't know how big my eyes lit up when I'd realize, oh, wait, we're not bound to that old distribution model anymore. No. We're not handcuffed into producing something that we don't know may or may not be successful. Those things are actually at our disposal and our control to be able to do. Like, this is such an amazing time, being able to reach out to a great fan base, like the people who are hanging out in chat, people who are going to, potentially have supported the book, supported the campaign. And the chatter that's happening behind the scenes, first it was annoying. First it was like, what is that? Why is that helpful? Why is that's not talking about comics? That's not talking about whatever it is that I'm really super passionate about, which is producing, publishing, distributing books, and doing it, more than the one time. That was annoying at first. Now it's just tiring.
You strike me as someone who doesn't like to be told, no, you can't do something, if you're like me at all. And then you go, well, I'm going to do it to prove I can do it. So,
and actually, it comes from more than not just the no, but I ask like, well, you can't do that. Or somebody says like, oh, you can't do that. And I ask like, why is that? Oh, really? Tell me why that's not the way to go, And then somebody goes, oh, because of some ridiculous trivial thing that I don't, at least conceptually, I don't align myself with. And I go like, that's not enough reason for me because you feel bad about that I wouldn't do it.
It's weird though, because the reasons they give for that, they're telling you that on a platform that they don't apply the same reason to. Like, it's all about different platforms and not being allowed to use them because it brings in the money and the business side of it, which is very detrimental to comics as a whole. It's like we should be trying everything.
For sure.
Getting as many comics out there in as many places.
I agree. I'll support. I will be able to. I think I feel very comfortable supporting artists' endeavors that don't allow them to be handcuffed by systems that are out of their control. I'm a huge proponent of that. Sometimes it's risky, right?
Yes.
I remember when I first came out and I said, hey, I support artists who are taking advantage of NFTs. I'm a huge fan of that opportunity space, what it represents, but because those are bad letters. There's that scene in The Village, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. Have you seen that before, Ben?
Mm-hmm.
Where there's a forbidden color, like they're like, red is the forbidden color, and the moment they see it, they like chop it down and put it in their pockets, and they're not allowed to talk about it at all, because they don't even know why that's the forbidden color. It's just known as the forbidden color, and you mustn't talk about it, or you mustn't exhibit it. Similar to NFTs. And there was a ton of pushback. I remember getting caught up in trying to explain to people the potential of it, trying to explain to people how beneficial it is to artists who would never have the time of day in making any sort of living from their art. And the pushback on it was pretty overwhelming, to the point where I'm like, what am I doing trying to convince these people who are not in the business of having this conversation, who are not in the business of being convinced? They're convinced. They're in the business of being right. And that's when I was like, I don't think this is going to be worth my time and effort anymore, So I actively sidestep those conversations now, but also rather than spending any sort of time, energy, and effort on that side of the conversational fence, I'd rather say, what are you doing with this on this side of the fence that allows you to be independently, just free of all the headaches that me personally trying to come up with finance, trying to come up with money, trying to be able to afford a living. What are you doing and how can I help support it? Right? I'm going to read up on it as much as I possibly can. And if it's something that I'm aligned with, I'm on board. And I just, as best as I can, tune out the red color is bad people.
It's hard to have any actual debate with anyone now if you disagree with someone on anything. So
Yeah.
it just devolves into like, no, I'm right and you're wrong, and you're not allowed to be not right.
For sure.
The way I agree.
Sure.
We agree. So
Rich has it right. He says, I stick to comics and art and now writing and stories. Everything else is a distraction. For sure. Yeah. You've built yourself quite a community, Rich, and I really appreciate the adept way of you sidestepping sometimes chat that comes into your comments that come up in your chat while you're streaming. That's really, really cool.
The one thing I don't get, though, about NFTs, the argument against them, I'm not pro or anti NFTs, but they're arguing that, like, the notion of value, of like, these people are buying JPEGs or whatever. It's like, we deal in art, which is intrinsically about subjective value. Like, some artists are more highly regarded than others. It's art. It's totally subjective.
Yeah.
You can like what you like.
I think at its core, if we zoom out to the 10,000 foot view, Ben, which is you can like what you like, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of that. If somebody said, like, for instance, there's from purely a practical space, if somebody says, hey, this very rare, very mint baseball card, I don't know anything about baseball cards, but let's say, right, that's a collectible, there's only so many printed, they've since been destroyed or somewhere in landfills, but this one exists and it's in perfect condition. To a person who likes that, right, that has a value, that means something to them, right? But for me, I look at it and I was all like, that means nothing to me, that's just a baseball card. I am not in the position to say, like, why are you spending your money on that? It's your money. Go ahead and spend on it. It's up to you to, you worked very hard for that money. You think that this is a great get, go get it. I think in part, not in whole, the argument against NFTs is somewhere in the realm of that. Not exactly, but somewhere in the realm of that, where they can't understand its value. They're not in that crypto space. And so they actively try to diminish it. Loudly, actively try to diminish it. And it's really surprising to me because you wouldn't be able to afford it even if you wanted to, So that I think informs in part where that feeling, that sentiment comes from, which is it's not easily accessible, available to everybody. So it must not be very good for me. Again, that doesn't capture everything. There's also a ton of environmental stuff that gets thrown out. The one that I hold a line against, and I believe wholeheartedly, is when artists' work are being illegally, without their, I don't know if legal is the right word, but when it's getting minted without their permission and somebody is making money off of it, that to me is I think there's a system breakdown there where that should not be happening.
Do you mean on the platforms where they're just like literally stealing someone's work off a website or something?
Yeah,
or do you mean the corporations now are doing it all and just taking previous work that they've paid? But these things technically can be originals. Well,
those are two different things. I agree with the first part, which is like somebody going to your website and saying, oh, look at this amazing print of X, right? This image of X. It's a high enough, resolution, in which I'm going to go mint that thing now. And the platforms don't have systems in place to prevent that from happening, and that freaking sucks. That really, really sucks. And I'm not a fan of that. Just recently, though, to the second part of your point, I just saw Brian Hitch's entire run of the Ultimates go into the NFT space, right? And
Really?
I suspected that they had not done any sort of conversation with Brian if that was a thing that they could do and what his compensation would look like, right?
Was it like the original art pages, or was it like the final pages?
No, it was the files. It was from the actual book itself. So, and so I messaged him via Twitter, and I said, "Hey, Brian, do you know that they're doing this?" And it was news to him, and I go, that in and of itself is wrong, right? Because if you are going to make trade paperback sales, if you're going to make t-shirts, if you're going to make any sort of extra stuff, at the very least, you should be consulted with, hey, we're going to make something like this, right? Whatever your contract has laid out in front of you, you are obviously going to be bound to that. But as a courtesy to you, I would hope that they say, hey, we're going to make this into bed sheets, and therefore we're going to cut you in. Here's what your pittance is going to be paid out to. This is what your compensation is going to be. But at the very least, they should have a conversation with you. The fact that it blindsided him, he didn't even know anything about it. That was astounding to me. And as a business, it just shows, as representative of these comics are as mainstream, they still don't treat it like a real business. I can't imagine being at Warner Brothers Animation proper, having created something for them, and Bruce Timm wouldn't be, consulted by it. Hey, we're going to go turn this into X. I suspect they would have, again, just as courtesy, was like, hey, we're going to see that Harlequin that you guys created for Batman the Animated Series. We're going to turn that into a main character into our comics, into our publishing line that is going to do astoundingly well. That will potentially be astoundingly well moving forward. Comics still does not operate at a very high professional level. Mainstream comics doesn't.
You've been in many industries now, right? The big difference, and I've done some advertising work and whatnot, and the feeling was totally different in the sense that they thanked me for working with them, but in comics, it's always, you should thank us for working with you. That's
keep in mind,
you should feel lucky.
It's been a while.
Yes, I always feel lucky, but don't tell me that. Don't give me the vibe.
It's been a while since I worked in mainstream, so I don't know. The people who I did work with in the past were nothing but courteous and kind to me. When I talk about my grievances with mainstream, it comes from a general snapshot, not individual. And it's
I didn't mean on an individual basis either. I just meant the way the business works and how it treats people and stuff like that, rather than words themselves.
Yeah, listen to this, Ben.
Except for a couple.
Big shout of thanks to Ben for supporting and encouraging me as a teenage kid making comics and music 20 plus years ago. Still going after it. A fellow by the name of Chad is thanking you for that level of inspiration.
Well, thank you. And yes, I did co-create 30 Days a Night. I saw a question.
Oh, right on. Right on.
I did do that thing.
The art theft is definitely a problem. It's just silly when people blame the NFT function itself for it. It's a neutral technology, can be used for legit or illegitimate work. Yes. And it's enough to say because it's being used illegitimately, it should not exist. Which, if you transfer that onto anything else, in life,
it's still the early days of it. People are going to use it for so many different things with contracts and various things.
For sure.
In the future.
For sure.
Probably.
We have a tendency, and just as humans, to have a very narrow point of view when it comes to how something affects us directly. What we don't have a tendency, we have not built out the muscle for it, is to zoom out to the 2,000, 3,000 foot level and understand it from a better perspective, right? And what's worse is that we also have a bad habit of just populating our day-to-day with things that help us in our echo chamber, right? I don't know if too many people are strong enough in their resolve, confident enough in their beliefs that they don't necessarily need to look out to somebody else and be like, actually, that proves me right 4 or 5 times over, right? I would think that if you were in that space, sort of mentally confident enough in whatever outlook that you'd want to have somebody challenge that outlook to say, well, did you think about this? But instead, we look for more of the same.
That's what I was always brought up with, is prove me wrong. So, like, give me an argument against, because my dad was a dick. He disagreed with me just to make me fight, argue with him, debate with him, not violently argue. So, you have to force you to justify your position and examine your own beliefs.
Right. And even if in the end, I don't know if it's the same with you, but even if in the end, if it doesn't ultimately work out that you're both agreeing, it's enough that you can step, to be like, oh, okay, that was a good debate, and not end up hating each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's like actual debate. Like intellectual debate. Like that they do in school. They used to. I don't know if it gets too aggressive now.
Right.
I did a couple of debates. But
let's bring it back to comics, shall we? Have I told you how much doing this self-publishing venture, how it has rekindled my love for drawing comics again?
Oh, good.
I'd lost it, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd lost track of the thing that made me want to draw in the first place, which is comics. But after coming back from that outer space exile, as I got retransplanted back onto Earth, I'd realized the opportunity best as I could, try to get rid of all the extra static noise in the background, and somehow found a fervor for doing comics again, which has been so much fun.
Man, you've always been one of the bigger, unique voices of comics. So to not have you in comics would be a travesty. So I can say that.
Thanks, Ben. I
think I first saw your stuff on NYC Mech.
Yeah.
Something to do with that.
Yeah. That was.
I know you were doing other stuff, but like that was my initial real exposure. I'm like, this guy's different and good.
That was through, surprisingly enough, one of my very good friends, a fellow by the name of Dave Johnson. Yeah, Dave and I were working at Warner Brothers Animation together on Justice League Unlimited, I think it was. It had already turned into the Unlimited version of itself. And he was friends with the series creator for NYC Mech, a fellow by the name of Ivan Brandon, who's still a good friend of mine to this day. Dave had fallen behind, or he knew he just couldn't maintain that delivery schedule. There was no way for him to turn it around, because of his animation work, because of his all of his other freelance work. He just couldn't turn those covers around for Ivan. And I had been way out of comics by then. I had failed in comics, not just creatively, but obviously financially, or not
that's
as obviously financially.
Actually, and I know I'm not doubting you, but that's
I couldn't make it work. I'm telling you, Ben, it was impossible for me to draw fast enough, because I just couldn't let go of this concept of, doing it exactly the way it is in my head and not looking at it holistically.
Okay,
as in like the process. You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's deadlines, there's a production involved, there's a schedule to meet. I just couldn't understand that, and I couldn't ramp down my expectation, not in a bad way, but you know what I mean? Like, you produce an art for a very specific task because those tasks have boundaries associated to them, these parameters. And I couldn't do that. I just didn't know how. So I failed in that, just on the premise of like financial. I couldn't to draw fast enough, and I couldn't draw in such a way that I was happy with the art that I was doing. So I said, forget this. I'm going into these bad financial situations personally, and so I need to go find something else. Got back into animation, and that's when I kind of kept comics at a periphery, but not really involved myself in the social side or on the business side of it. 0% of that. That's how you and I would, sort of, if keep touch is the term, but that's how you and I would see each other at these shows, right?
Very briefly.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. And, that's why I would sort of kind of keep my name in the public sphere of comics, but there was never an active part of me that said, I'd want to come back and draw comics again. Yeah, but the so again, I was hands off. I was like, I don't want to do anything comic book related, and it was through Ivan Brandon's encouragement that I actually did those covers for NYC Mech. Hey, I'll be completely hands off. I'll be like, I'll just give you a premise of what the series is going, what the series is about, what the issue is about, and it was that kind of made me peek back in and say, what else is going on right now that's super exciting. So
you're just waiting to work for yourself. That's what it was, man. Just to do your own thing. No bosses.
It took some time to figure out what that was, because as much as I loved comics back then, it was really hard to go, oh, I don't think I want to draw it anymore. That reality, that's pretty sobering, right? To go like, I don't think I want to be involved in comics anymore. And
I've had that
feeling
for various reasons.
Far the same as time is key. 200 billion known galaxies. Rich is saying, yeah, I think Rich was there when I was going through that that sort of reality struggle. I remember Eric saying he didn't have the patience anymore, and I was thinking Eric draws more than anyone I know.
You look more prolific than almost anyone else I've ever seen in comics.
Thanks, man. That time when I was working at Wildstorm was that moment where I go, I don't think I'm cut out to do this. I'm not drawing it fast enough. I didn't know how to let go of the style that I was trying to do back then to make it successful. And everybody was on a deadline. Rich was banging out pages. Dustin was banging out pages. So there wasn't much room to do it any longer than I did before I really started to feel the financial strain of it. So I had to give it up. And so here after when I came back and started seeing, wait a second, I can actually do this under my own steam. It was such an exciting time, but also a real frustrating time because of all the stuff that was happening in the periphery, but as soon as I built the muscle to be able to zone that part out, that's when the love for it came back. When I stopped being worried about like, oh, how are people going to react to this? How are, what do they think of what do they think of my opinions about X, Y, and Z? I was like, there's just no time for this stuff anymore, man. Let's just make some good comics. It's just
we let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
Ideally, that's its own pressure. So.
Right. But at the very least, that's within my purview, right? As opposed to the other thing, which is, oh wait, I'm basing my conduct on how social media reacts to blah 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 blah.
That's why I like Instagram a lot more.
It's
show me your art more than show me an opinion of anything. It's like we all have opinions on everything. It's like I don't need to know everyone's opinion on everything.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Here comes Rob. Rob Arnold has been a staunch supporter of my endeavor into comics, back into doing self-publishing, and he's one of the guys behind the scenes that I tap on the shoulder and I ask, hey man, does this work? So here's a character trait of Rob's. Rob will be really super opinionated about something. Do this, especially in the first campaign. And I say this lovingly, so take that with a grain of salt. Do this. And I do all of those things. And he goes, oh man, you don't have to listen to me.
Well, it's still only an opinion. But although you can quantify results as well.
It comes from an informed place. Ben, you tell me if you were an astronaut, hey man, at the launch of this shuttle, hold your breath because it's just going to knock you on your ass if you have a full lung of air. You know what I mean? I mean, like, okay, Ben's been in space before.
If you're going into a vacuum, you will explode.
There you go. If you had personal experience from that, I'd be like, okay, I will not do that. Similarly with Rob, because I extend him that professional courtesy. Rob's been through the geography before. Certainly he has a roadmap of what success looks like, so I'm going to follow that to a T. But then he goes like, why do you don't have to listen to me? And I'm like, thanks, Rob.
Well, the trick is building on good ideas and fleshing them out with even better or more ideas.
I think that's one of the more exciting things about doing this crowdfunding space, and I don't know if it's the same for you. I think learning how to do something when I didn't know how to do it before has been such an amazing, amazing wrinkle in my brain.
Well, especially when it succeeds, when you've tried something and you realize, I can do this. This is not new anymore. Now I can
let
see
me
what
think
I can
about
really
that. let me think about that, because Rob is not alone in his question to me sometimes about this. He goes, did you, how did you phrase the question to me? Well, not just him, but obviously, like more than a handful of people. It was like, was it successful? Which is a weird, metric to me, to be like, what do you mean by that? You know, like some people think of it as the obvious financial equivalent of success. Hey, did you raise X amount of dollars so that you could cover the whatever expenses for the book and the campaign? I'm like, oh, okay, we can have a conversation about that. But to me, the success criteria ultimately came from, I didn't know that thing, and now I do know that thing, right? So I shrug and I go like, well, what version of success are we talking about, right? Is it the I learned a lot version, or is it the financial version? Because the financial version, sure, it'd be great if I was always in the black. Naturally, that's something to strive for. And even within campaigns, somebody goes, what's the dollar total of the thing that you had? I'm all like, it's this, but I'm not paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to growth, right? I'm paying attention to, I had X amount of people backing me in campaign 1. This is what I'm going to do with campaign 2, right? These are my hopes and dreams for campaign 2. I hope I get X amount more people backing the book, right? Which is, again, a long-term strategy. In as far as the financial part, I'm like, that's kind of neat. that's kind of cool. If it becomes sustainable and becomes a thing that I can do exclusively, that would be a dream. But really, it's because if I'm going to make comics on my own, if I'm going to be publishing and printing something that is front loaded with my ideas, my goal is to make sure as many people that can end up reading it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we all want the audience, ideally, to see our work. So
absolutely,
the frustrating aspect of comics, but crowdfunding, it kind of breaks that a little. Finally.
Well, it gives you the tempo and control. So to that point, and I wish Michael wasn't talking to himself right now.
Yeah, he's very interested in something.
I don't know what he's doing. I'm glad that he's got himself on mute, but he's off doing his own thing. I don't know what it is. We might be talking to his community on Discord there.
Yeah. But I think you're going to have huge success. Like by book, was it 5 or 6? It's going to be 6.
Yeah,
you're going to sell more of one every time as well. So, and people can.
We're going to keep our fingers crossed. We're hoping that by
very reader friendly. So,
thanks, man. I think it's understanding also where your audience is and what I'm doing, or where my audience is and what I'm doing in order to gain access to them. So to that point, somebody had mentioned to me, hey, Eric, how come there is no digital, PDF tier on your campaigns?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I was like, there isn't one because I wasn't smart enough to come up with it. But just quite by accident, but also under very good fortune, a company by the name of Zest World reached out to me. Do you know this company at all, Ben? Have you heard of them? Okay, so Zest World, in the midst of all of that, I would say like hype and fervor of Substack, because it's in their business model. Substack reached out to a lot of different writers because that's what they have. They have a writing / newsletter platform. They reached out to a lot of writers in the mainstream comic book industry, and you can find a list of them somewhere. But they said, hey, how would you like to bring some of that notoriety, some of that sort of energy over to Substack? And they did. They give them grants. To each individual, it was a different amount of money. But they say, hey, come develop whatever you want to develop outside of the mainstream over here, right? And they did.
They got some stars.
Yeah.
I'm on Substack now too. So.
Say again?
I'm on Substack.
As one of the people that they reached out to, or was it
no, I just
something that you did on your own?
I swapped my mailing list to it because the basic platform is pretty good. So
right on.
Totally free.
Yeah, but there were some specific individuals where they said, "Hey, we're going to give you a small truck, a big truck, a very, very large truck of money. Come and bring some of that over here," right? And so they did, and I think one of the things that I'd identified was something that I said earlier about Substack, is that it is a newsletter first platform, which means that as a creator, as a writer that they gave these grants to, I don't know if they reached out to too many artists. Well, no. Scotty is a writer artist. I think they reached out to him, but there weren't that many notable writer or artists that they reached out to. Anyway, Substack being a newsletter first platform, it would then be incumbent upon those creators to develop this delivery method that's, graphic interface centric, which was almost like this added task. Not only are you supposed to write, by the way, if there's somebody in chat or somebody who knows somebody that's actually in the mix of this, I'm happy to be proven wrong. But how I saw it was that, you're bringing in writers and expecting them to build a graphic centric delivery method. You didn't have that built into your platform, Yeah. And along comes Zestworld, right? Zestworld actually has built themselves a UI and a graphics platform that is conducive to this weekly, whatever it is, the cadence of delivery for each creator is going to be different. They've actually built that thing native to their service. Right? And when they saw that...
they have an audience?
They're going to build it, right? They are at the front end of building something, right? One of their ACs, one of their investment ICs, investment collaborators is Alexis, and I can't say Alexis's last name. I've never committed it to memory. Alexis is the guy who co-founded Reddit.
Oh, nice.
As I've known him, though, when I said the name to my wife, she goes, "Oh yeah, that's." She didn't say it like this. She's like, "Oh yeah, that guy's married to Serena Williams," and so I lovingly, tongue-in-cheekly referred to him as Mr. Serena Williams because that's who I knew. But come to find out, Alexis has a really great program for helping these businesses get on the right track. Zestworld is one of them, And Zestworld has endeavored for the past 7 months, more than that, before I was even involved with them, understanding the opportunity space of what a full-time, subscription-based newsletter delivery platform, all the challenges that are built into that. And they went and built it. And so they wanted to populate their launch with creators that fit within the context of the audience that they wanted to capture. And for whatever reason, and I asked the head of Zestworld multiple times, for whatever reason, they invited me. And they said, "Hey, Eric, what would it take for you to bring ATHENA over here exclusively?" And we were 2 weeks away from launch, maybe 3, but it wasn't that much time. And I said, I don't think that there would be I don't know, they could have said $1 gazillion, like absolutely take it for $1 gazillion. But they said, what would it take for us to have ATHENA exclusively on our platform and as a delivery for our service? And I said, I don't think there would be an ideal number because I'm trying to build an equity of trust with a potential audience that I know I don't even have yet, right? Mm-hmm. So to say, hey, I'm going to launch this in 2 weeks and suddenly go, oh, actually, I'm lying, it's going to be on this platform exclusively, that would be such a huge ding on me. And so I said, is there any way that we can work this out so that once book 1 is delivered to the backer base, right, it goes live on your site? And luckily, and I think this is an accommodation that they made for me, they said, absolutely. How do we get ATHENA distributed? How do we become the digital distribution subscription space for ATHENA? And we worked out the terms and conditions for that. And that's how people are going to be able to get ATHENA digitally.
So it's not out yet digitally?
Nope. Nice. It launched, I think the full launch of the platform, Zestworld, is going to be the 8th of this month.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at Patreon at all? I'm not saying don't do this. I'm just saying I have a Patreon, and that's much more visually centric than Substack.
Sure. For sure.
So that's how I initially put out my stuff, just to those people.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first questions.
Digital platform though, but
that was one of the first questions that I'd asked them. I'm like, Substack, here are its limitations, here are its challenges when it comes to a graphics experience, as a user experience, a person who's reading these comics. What are you guys doing? And I couldn't even finish the conversation. I couldn't even finish the question before they said, oh yeah, here's what our UI looks like. And they pitched it to me over a conference call. And I was like, that looks so cool. That is clean, that is legible, and it makes it easy for people to access it.
Eric, do you know how many
Substack? You mean the other guys?
Say again?
You mean the guys you're going with?
Yes.
Zestworld?
Zestworld. Yep.
Good. I was shocked if you were thinking that was Substack. So.
No. I missed this thing from my buddy Dan. Dan just popping in to say, hey, looking forward to book 2. Hey to Mike and Ben as well. Welcome. Welcome.
Hey Dan. I'm back. Sorry.
Rob is giving me grief, telling me to show the campaign. You know what? I'm not listening to you anymore, Rob. You always say do this, and when it's like, okay, I'm going to do it, you're like, why do you listen to me? I'm not listening to you anymore.
Gotta remind people why you're on, man.
All right, for this is for Ben and not for Rob.
Yeah, show him.
We're gonna share this Chrome tab, and I hope that I'll know how to refresh something. Here we go. Can we hit refresh? Here we go. Here, refresh. There's the campaign.
There it is. Whoa. Nice. All right. 96 backers. We're almost at 100 backers. Over 7,000 USD. I will say that featured bundle is a steal.
Yes, it is.
Now that Rob is here, I'm able to talk about it a little bit more because he was there as well. Mike's energy when it comes to launching campaigns is unparalleled, and there's just no way I could keep up with that kind of energy. There is just no way I could keep up with that kind of energy. So instead, we're doing this version. Second?
You think he chugs coffee beforehand?
I know some people are just built for it, man.
Some people are like that, man.
Yeah, some people just know how to. Yeah, look at that. Ben's on that Red Bull.
It's an illness.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not healthy.
Wait, Ben, what time is it where you are?
I'm on West Coast, man.
Oh.
I have one in the morning.
Accent.
I have one in the morning. So.
Wait, Red Bull for breakfast.
Red Bull for breakfast.
Oh, you're wild, man.
Like a grown-up.
I am in San Diego, California.
Lex says, missed the first campaign and need issue 1 and 2. Do you ever talk about how to make a comic in Procreate? How do you make a comic in Procreate? There is a template that I downloaded, and it's weird. It's weird that you mentioned that because I took this template to be sort of the universal guide that aligns to a lot of different pre-production presses, right? Yeah. And so when I handed over, first of all, the first thing that should have cued me in was when I showed the pages to my letterer. He goes, "What template are you using for this?" And I was like, "Oh, why? Did I do it wrong?" And he goes, "It's just off." And I'm like, "Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good."
Mm-mm.
And finally, when I handed to my pre-production guy, Leo, he said, "What template are you using for this? Because this isn't lining up to anything that I've ever worked before." And Leo has worked with a lot of different people. And the fact that mine was off, we'd had multiple conversations thereafter about how to sort of nudge the art left and right just so everything is going to bleed and it doesn't seem like things were done accidentally and I was doing things purposefully. So to answer your question, first find a really good template that you can draw over that actually makes sense for pre-production purposes. And then secondly, I think this one's kind of a no-brainer. Just find the tools that you're most comfortable working with when in regards to drawing your books. I can recommend one, but I'm not sure it's going to be the right one, so I don't want to lead you down the path of unusable pre-production art.
Wow.
Eric, did I say Zest World? It's Zest, Z-E-S-T, Zest, as in a lemon or an orange. Zest World, or a Zest for Life. Zest World. I'm supposed to have a call in with them in a couple of days. I hope I didn't miss the meeting, but we were supposed to discuss the launch on their platform, and it's soonish. I know for sure. There's a feeling, not an exact date, but a feeling of a ticking clock in the back of my brain, which tells me, uh-oh, that campaign launch is coming.
Zetsworld.com, right? That's the...
Yeah, I just looked it up.
All right, I want to make sure
and bookmarked it.
I
I'm going to be watching.
I didn't send people to the wrong place.
Amanda's saying there are differences, but yes, this is Kennedy's channel. I'm laughing at how much this is probably grinding your gears. Rob has a very particular way he likes to conduct crowdfunding business, and 95% of the time I'm not aligned to that business model, so it must really bug him that I'm not showing the campaign enough. Look, Rob, I remember I had a conversation with somebody else offline, and this bit of information also made me laugh. They were enthusiastic for the campaign. They were enthusiastic for book 2. They obviously wanted to support, but then they did the conversion in their head. They were like, when are you going to do it? I'm like, Tuesday. Tuesday. Okay. All right. Tuesday. What time are you going to do it? I'm like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock my time. And like, East Coast, that's noon. And I'm like, yeah, what do you think? And they said, you're going to launch a campaign in the middle or early in the week when everybody is at work. And right in the middle of lunch, if the time conversion works. And I'm all like, yeah. And they're like, hey man, you do what you do, but that is quite possibly the worst time. Quite possibly the worst time to launch this campaign. And he's like, I don't mean to talk shit about you, but maybe you should move it. And I'm all like, I'll put that into consideration. So the spirit of that conversation is probably the nerve that's hitting Rob right now, because he's like, you need to show that campaign page a little bit more.
There's so many theories on when to launch into which times. I mean, yes, East Coast time zone has the most people, but
yeah,
people are doing things online when they should be at work, like buying books.
Sure.
So,
I am one of them.
I've had office jobs where I completely fucked off online instead of actually doing what I was supposed to.
You should put that on your resume. But you're not doing that on this campaign, are you?
What's this? It's stressing people out.
He's not. He better be concentrating on this campaign.
Oh, yeah.
This is my good friend, Sam Liu. And I had asked Sam if he had time to swing by as much as you have. I don't know if Sam has time to do it because it's noonish and he's a very, very busy guy. I don't know if you know of Sam and his work at all, but if Peter Chung was the early, as an early influence / teacher, mentor of mine, Sam is the later mentor of mine. Sam is a director, storyboard artist, and producer over at Warner Brothers Animation. And Sam had to deal with me back when I was in my mid-20s and a complete punk and an asshole. Because Sam was the guy that was always trying to find ways to remind me to stay as humble as possible, and yet my ego just wouldn't allow it to happen. Fast forward to now when I'm much older, hopefully wiser, where I try to be as humble in front of him. Now he's like, you're not being hyped up about this enough. But anyway, as a genuine thanks for all the investment that he made into me and trying to keep me humble, but obviously from a craft perspective, allow me to get better by effectively hand-holding me through a lot of the projects that we'd worked on together, not the least of which the Batman, which is that relaunch right after the very intimidating run of the Batman animated series. Sam was very patient and guiding with me in regards to that whole process. And he has been one of my best friends for a very, very long time, godfather to my children. I'd asked him, hey, Sam, come on board, come stream with me and we can talk about your career. And again, that concept, as an aside, probably scares the hell out of Rob, because I'm not bringing people on to talk about the campaign. I'm bringing people on so that they can talk about themselves. And I suspect, right?
You mean being interesting, not just an infomercial?
I think
The
you know,
thing that
like
makes
you.
people personal and have a relationship with them.
Yeah, I think there's a time
Crazy.
and place, and I'm never industrious enough to understand when those opportunities are. It could have brought Sam on a week previous, a week after the campaign, and that's probably the most ideal, optimal time to bring Sam and just be able to talk about his career. But instead, I'm like, hey Sam, come on day of, and we just chit chat, and we'll burn through time together while I draw and you talk about your career. But instead of actually talking about the campaign, which to Rob's point, he does have a point, which is like, hey, have people be invested in your campaigns by showing the page from time to time while you're talking. I'm just not very good at it, Rob. I'm going to work on it. I have 6 books of which this is the second. I suspect by the time we get to book 6, I'll be really, really good at this thing that you're suggesting I'd be really, really good at. But for now, I'm going to talk to Sam, I'm going to talk to Ben, I'm going to talk to Mike. Actually, I'm going to quit talking because it's noonish and it's time for me to go have lunch.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Kennedy, I've got a quick
Accidentally.
question.
Yeah, go.
Because, all right, here. I don't know if you can see my screen right now.
I can.
I've been doodling.
Yeah, buddy.
Heavy gun.
Yep.
Quick question. What are these? I know these are pouches. Well, you got these metal things here.
Yeah. Those are all amazing questions.
What that is?
Yeah. Let's figure that out together. Like I said, I have 6 issues, of which we are launching book 2. Listen, let's take a look at this campaign one more time, just to appease Rob so he doesn't bite my head off later. And then we'll call it a day.
It's a mystery for another day.
It's a mystery for another.
What?
I just draw these things, man. I didn't really design
What are
it.
those?
Let's hit refresh again and then call it lunch, shall we? There we go. One more time. There we go. Did that go up? Did that go down? I don't know. But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for backing early. This is going to be on for about, 29 more days hereafter. Take a look through the campaign if you already haven't. Please tell me on my Twitter and on my Instagram. If you have backed, I want to thank you directly. We're going to do a few more of these shows as we move through those 30 days. Tonight, hopefully, if he hasn't communicated by now, because I'm doing such a poor job, I'm going to be on Michael Bancroft's stream to be following up with this one.
Excellent.
Rob can give me hell then. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone in chat. And I'm going to go have some lunch now. You guys have a great afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where you guys are. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.